All right, welcome back to the Great Edge Workshop. For tonight, something a little bit different. I've been working on developing different methods. If you've been watching some of these videos and following on Instagram, and particularly focusing on the quickness of sharpening. So showing some belt sharpening methods and work sharp blade grinding attachment, which I love and gives a very good quality edge, sharper than new, absolutely. But it's been a while since I've done a video featuring my Tormek T8, which is actually how Great Edge started. It was the only sharpening method that I used for a very long time. So for tonight, I'm going to sharpen a knife using the T8. I brought this Swibo, or probably it's Swiss, so probably Svibo might be pronounced. In from the kitchen. It's just a general purpose knife. Doesn't do a lot of cooking duties, but just slicing bread, etc. And it's gotten a bit dull. Actually, a lot dull in parts. The edge is a bit variable. If I show you here, it's not bad around the middle of the blade. So 303, that's respectable. But if we check now the heel of the blade. By the way, if you're wondering what this device is, it's Best Edge Tester, and this measures the sharpness of a knife. It's a way to quantify sharpness. I've got other videos about this. So check out the rest of my YouTube feed if you want to learn more about this. But essentially, the lower the number, the sharper the knife. New knife somewhere in the 250 range, and razor blades, brand new disposable razor blades, about 50. So anywhere along that continuum, you've got a pretty good edge. So 303 is a knife that's done a little bit of work, but close to the heel, not so good. I haven't measured the best yet, but I know just from cutting magazine paper that this does not do so well. Yeah, and there the numbers are climbing. We're gonna get under 1,000. Yeah, at least under 1,000. So 838. So not only is the heel of this dull, but there's variability along the edge. So time to sharpen it up. So I'm gonna run this across the Tormek T8 and see how low we can go on the best score. My approach is going to be six steps. I'm going to aim for 12 degrees per side. 3 grinding steps with CBN wheels, 160, 400, and 1,000 grit. Then leather honing at the exact edge angle, so honing it at 12 degrees on leather. Then felt honing on felt, slightly higher than the edge angle, and finally a leather strop, which if you've seen some of my other videos, it's here. So a special grade of leather, coarse, and a smooth side gives a really good result when finishing off an edge. Okay, probably going to spend about 25 minutes on this altogether. I'm not planning to film the whole sharpening process because I don't think you want to watch that. If anyone does want to see start to finish, literally uncut video, please do let me know. But instead, what I'll do is set up the camera and get shots to be able to show you each of the 6 steps that I go through. And we'll rejoin here at the end to see how much the best result has improved. Okay, see you soon. Okay, here we are at the first step of the sharpening process. This is the knife on the CBN 160 wheel. Really great advantage of sharpening with the Tormek is the fact that you can work at very precise edge angles and controlled edge angles. So if you've not seen this before, that bar that's running along well, from this perspective, the back of the machine nearest to me as I'm sharpening, is set to a very precise height, which with some calculations in order to give a very precise edge angle together with the jig and how the knife is mounted in the jig to the sharpening process. So I've made some measurements and set up the machine so that I'm sharpening at 12 degrees per side, working very carefully as you can see, so trying to present the edge in an even, fashion and moving it slowly across the grinding surface, that liquid that you can see is actually water. So the stone, sorry, not stone, the wheel, CBN wheel, is passing through a water trough, which means it can keep the knife edge cool as it sharpens, stays basically at room temperature, which means no effect on tempering, and you get a really nice durable edge without really any long-term consequences on the steel. Another great benefit of the Tormek is that because you are working at precise edge angles, you are removing the minimum amount of steel. Here I'm going to 12 degrees. I think I mentioned, which is a change. So I'm lowering the edge angle, which means I have to remove a little more steel than I normally would. But still, with the Tormek, I can be sure that at least I'm removing the minimum. What you can see me doing periodically between passes is to checking with my fingertips for the formation of a burr. Right, there I go again. Particularly the heel was challenging on this knife to get a burr, so I'm focusing particularly there, and alternating sides as I sharpen. So you will see some sharpening techniques, or people recommending sharpening techniques will talk about sharpen on one side until you raise a burr, then flip the knife over and sharpen on the other side. I prefer always, even on belt grinders, to sharpen alternating sides, and that way I'm sure that I'm grinding the two sides of the knife evenly, and I'm more likely to end up with the apex right in the center of the blade thickness. Anyways, wrapping up at 160 here, and switching to 400 in a moment. Okay, now we're on to the 400 grit wheel. I wanted to let that run a little bit without the voiceover, so they had a chance to hear the difference in the grinding sound. So we're in a finer grit wheel now, an intermediate grit in the overall sharpening process, and what that means is we're not taking off so much metal. So if you think of the 160 as the stone that's really shaping the profile of the knife, now here we're smoothing out some of the rough cuts that the 160 grit necessarily makes. So I'm using a 400 grit CBN wheel here to set up for as a transition, essentially, to set up for the 1000 grit, which is where I refine the apex. The first stage, 160 grit, is more variable in terms of the number of passes and the duration, because essentially you have to persevere until you have an even burr along the whole length of the edge. Since I've done that, I've established that the 400 grit and the 1000 grit that you'll see next is much more reliable. It's 3 passes per side. So just wrapping up here on the 400 grit. So 1000 grit CBN sharpening now, very fine. We're working on a very fine apex. So just going to let this run 3 passes per side to refine the edge apex, and then we'll move on to honing.
So a final pass at the 1000 grit CBN. Now we move on to the honing step. That's the standard issue honing compound that comes with the Tormek, and I'm using the Tormek leather wheel here. Standard issue compound, standard issue honing wheel. One of the things that's not standard issue though is the forward vertical base. Unfortunately, you can't really see it in this photo. I'm going to have to do another video to show that in particular, but an amazing add-on to the Tormek sharpening process because it allows honing at an exact edge angle. So what is maybe not so clear from the video is the sharpening process with the CBN wheels was all done edge leading, so the wheel is turning up towards the edge, in other words towards me. With honing, you want to do edge trailing, so have the honing wheel, because it's leather, you want to have it turning away from me, so it's turning away from the knife and therefore turning away from you as the sharpener. And with standard Tormek equipment, it's not possible to hone at controlled edge angles in such a way. So the forward vertical base, the FVB, is the device that I have purchased separately, mounted to the front of the Tormek, in order that I can hone at exactly 12 degrees per side. So that's what's going on here, is cleaning up the edge really well at a very precise angle, so that the exact angle of the sharpening. Much like 1000 grit CBN, that's 3 passes per side. As long as the burr, I can't feel the burr anymore, then move on to the next step, which just crossed over to, which is honing on the rock hard felt wheel. So this is where really honing doesn't even do justice. I think it's really deburring or derooting of the burr. So this is a rock hard felt wheel. You normally run this, depending on the steel, you run this at a higher edge angle than you're sharpening at. So here, because these Swibo knives, I know a good protocol is around plus 1.5. So I've sharpened at 12 degrees per side. I did the initial honing at 12 degrees per side. Now I'm passing the knife over at 13.5 degrees per side, trying to just clean up any residual burr close to the apex of the knife to give a really high quality result.
Okay, we're back now. I'm filming this all in one sequence. Haven't done the editing yet, but hopefully if that goes well, by now you will have seen some of the sharpening steps that I went through, which, just as a reminder, 3 grinding steps, 3 different grits of CBN wheel, then exact edge angle honing on a leather wheel, and finally with a felt at slightly higher than the edge angle. It was a rock hard felt wheel, and I honed it at 1.5 degrees above the edge angle. So all my sharpening was done at 12 degrees per side, leather wheel at 12 degrees per side, and then final honing, rock hard felt wheel, 13.5 degrees per side, and then stropping with my leather strop. And here we are back with the best tester. So let's just see where we ended up. 74. So very happy with that, and nice to be back onto the Tormek sharpening as well. So this is the level of service I would call super sharp if you bring a knife to great edge. So I've got a QuickSharp service, which will get you in the 120 best range using belt sharpening. But for a little bit extra, you can go for the super sharp service, and you'll end up with more detailed work and a finer edge, something like 74 best, which is extremely sharp, not far off of razor sharpness, which is pretty good for a knife that costs about 20 quid, plastic handle, etc. Okay, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed. Please, if you did enjoy, please remember to like and or subscribe. Would mean a lot to me. And see you again next time. Bye.